That's probably a good thing for some of you. So here we go. So when Matthew kindly asked me to do this, originally I was going to be doing it at the end of July, and it was going to be about not parking what you're going to be doing with your business over summer. Because of lots of reasons, and obviously a lot of people were already away, we moved it to now. So I've slightly changed the focus on this, because the one thing that we don't tend to have as business owners is time to sit back and think and just understand what we can do with our business. So it feels like a luxury, and it shouldn't. It's not an indulgence, as someone said to me. This is about what we can do, our opportunities, what we are capable of doing, and how we're going to do it. So today is very much a reflective 20 minutes. And I want you to get involved in this as much as you feel comfortable on chat, or I can unmute you, whichever you prefer, because I want you to have this bit of time to just think about where you are now, where you want to go, and what the next sort of quarter is going to look like. And this is about understanding the things we can control, not what we think or might assume is going to happen in October. Who knows? As Jan and Elaine have said, we don't know what's going to happen. So we probably got a good idea, but I think we need to think about the stuff we can do and we can impact. So let's just think for a minute where you are right now with your business. So if you've got a pen and paper in your hand, or you might have notes, I want you to just think about where your business is, or where your role is within a business. Where are you actually sitting? How has business been over the summer? So specifically, I'm thinking June, July, August as a quarter. What challenges have you faced recently? And how has that left you feeling? And if you're happy to share this, then please feel free, pop it in chat for me or unmute. So let me just have a look. Pop your hand up if you'd like to. I'm just going to open up the video so I can see you all. There we go. Matthew. Right, over to you, Matthew. Go on.
I'm quite happy to kick off.
Thank you.
Working in hospitality, it's been an interesting summer, and we have a much better picture today than if you had asked me that question in August, July, or June. Throughout the whole of the tourist economy in the New Forest, it's been a question of uncertainty. Would all the places fill up? And my hotel has been full, but I can say that today, but I couldn't at any point up to today. And even today, there was a spare room and it's now full. So it's been uncertainty, unpredictability. And that was all to do with energy prices, where they were or weren't going to go, the cost of living crisis and the effect on luxury products like the yachting, and also, of course, the change of government and where they would take particularly the small business economy. So uncertainty is quite unnerving for people, because one of the best things for business is certainty, either certainly going down or certainly going up, but either way, certainty, because then you can deal with it.
Yeah, and it's been an interesting one, because it feels as though people are waiting till the very last minute to do bookings of anything, as to use your word, luxury, which can be anything that falls outside a household and what they need, which is food, water bills, electricity, etc., the obvious stuff. I've got a few clients in the hospitality trade, and they telling me that they're getting the bookings, but you're absolutely right. It feels like you are on a roller coaster, and you've got to wait until people suddenly make their mind up that they're going to come away. It's always lastminute.com for everything now, for people making decisions, which doesn't help when you're trying to run a business. So thank you, Matthew. How about anyone else? Anybody else happy to share how business has been over the summer? You might have found that it was busy, it was good. So
yeah,
on, Rob.
I'll say so. Oh, Rob, say first.
Oh, sorry. I'll come to you in a second, Ricky. Sorry.
Nice.
Go on, Rob.
Yeah, it's been quite busy for me. A lot of what I do is tech support work, and that seems to go on year round. So there's been quite a bit of that, to the extent that I've actually turned away one or two small new builds of websites because I haven't felt I've had the capacity to do them justice with some other big projects in the pipeline at the moment. I'm starting to focus more closely on the most rewarding or important jobs to me, and realizing that the recurrent income from the support side of my business is probably more important where I am in my life now, is probably more important than winning projects, rushing around delivering projects, moving on to the next big thing.
Okay.
So I'm shifting business model a little bit.
Just alternate styling. Brilliant. Thank you, Rob. I'll come to you, Ricky, and then over to Sandra. So sorry, Ricky, go on.
It's okay, no worries. I'll probably say the biggest thing for me over the last few months, especially over summertime, is doing market research in regards to moving recruitment to Hampshire, where I've mainly been focusing on recruitment in London, where it is more in demand due to the amount of work and a lot of companies looking to step outside internal recruitment. And coming into Hampshire, obviously living in Hampshire myself, the stigma around recruitment agencies in Hampshire, there's a lot of companies that don't like recruitment agencies with this huge stigma about overly charging, not delivering the quality, not being reliable enough. So it's been interesting the last couple of months to hear the feedback from companies, both from London, but also from the Hampshire area. Our capital is doing very well, and Hampshire, just needs a little bit more of a help in regards to it. But, it's been an interesting couple of months.
It's fascinating, isn't it? When because I used to work in the car industry, so I can say this, but it's like the used car salesman approach. I ran a business centre which it was fleet cars, but it was always, oh, you're a car salesperson. That's what you do. You sell cars. You duck in and dive in, and it's really interesting how you have to really hold your gravitas to do that. So fascinating. Thank you for sharing that, Ricky. Sandra, over to you.
Yeah, so my business model is also changing. I've historically done a lot of white label work for agencies, but I've always wanted to move more to do my own direct clients. The last few months, I've been making more effort to do that, and I'm about 50-50 now, so it's getting more to what I want, but I'm finding time is a massive issue. I don't have the time to do all the things that I need to do in order to push that. And if I release time to push that, then I'm losing the regular income from the agency work. So that's my struggle, wearing too many hats.
I know that feeling very well. It's because you can't split yourself up as much as AI can tell you it can. It can't split you into 5 different segments. And I think that's always the battle we have, whether that's in a job role or whether you're an entrepreneur. There's never enough time, however slick you are at time. There's never enough of it, is there, to do that, to work around it. But fantastic to hear that that's starting to change as well. So thank you for sharing that. I want you to start thinking now about successes. So the one thing, in fact, we were talking about this morning. I've got a brand new cohort of people I'm doing for leadership, and we were talking about the fact that we never ever stand back and just think about what we've done that's great. It was lovely to hear Jan saying about the award, and so on, because that is important for us to start thinking about what we are achieving. And it is about being proud of that, because it's not easy being an entrepreneur. And I'm always staggered. I don't know why I'm surprised, but I still am, that people who I know very well, who I highly respect, who are very well respected in their industry, will say to me privately, I can never do what you do running a small business, because I would be too scared about not having the regular income coming in. And it's that constant wheel you need to be on. But sometimes we need to step back. And success is an interesting one, because what does success look like for you? Is success being the next Elon or Oprah or whoever? Or is it just a happy work-life balance, and earning enough money, whatever enough looks like, to be able to do your hobbies and, have time and have headspace? And as Ricky was saying, fed up of working for other people. And it's usually that's why people want to go into entrepreneurship. So it's an interesting one about success. So if we start thinking about that, and this is a rhetorical question for you to just mull over, how much do you celebrate success? And success might be winning a new project. I usually do a happy dance. I can't believe I've shared this on screen. I haven't actually said it out loud, but that's what I do. I have to remember, if I'm on site, to walk away from where the cameras are around from reception so they can't see me. But if I win a really big project, it feels like it's a massive win, because as a small business, You know, you are sometimes beating these massive global companies because they like the personal touch. So Ricky's saying that about recruitment, and for all of us, there's nothing new about perhaps what we do, but the way that makes us different is us. So I think for me, it's understanding how you do that and thinking about where you want to go. That question's asked all the time. I realise this. But what is your vision for the next quarter? The stuff you can control now, so not the stuff you can't. What new markets or segments can you explore? New opportunities to target? There will be something in your kit bag, if you like, that will be different. And because I know some of you anyway and how passionate you are about what you do, that's why you are successful, because people love that. They absolutely love it. And sometimes when I'm out and about and I meet people, particularly networking, people can feel quite jaded, or they're always busy, always busy. In fact, Matthew and I were talking about that word earlier on. I'm trying, he doesn't know this, but I'm actually on a bit of a mission to find out a different word for busy, because busy sounds negative. It's not a good word. And when you're an entrepreneur, if you say you're busy, people will think you've not got time for them. So there's a really fine balance between what you want to do and where you want to go. But a bit like Sandra was saying about wanting to change the business model, that's something I'm going through at the moment. And I've got an opportunity to go on a business retreat. First time ever. It feels like a massive indulgence, because I'm heading off to Greece on Saturday to do it. But it's something I've never done. It'll give me headspace, and I probably need it because I've never got time to do the things I want to do, which will be about systemizing, using AI more and so on. But for each of you, it's going to be different. So what changes in your product or service offerings can you do? Capitalize on some of this stuff, like Darren was just saying about the pension awareness next week. That's a massive subject. It might feel like a dry subject, but God, is it important? We know that, and I can't get my head around some of it, I have to say. I wish I was around next week to come to that. So can you record it and send it to me, Darren? But the what are the changes, the competitors that you have? What are they doing that you think, well, I'm going to be better than that? I want to do something different, because we need to adapt to it. And a lot of this is around the AI as well. So if we think about the stakeholders we have, so your stakeholders might be your clients, your customers, it could be residents if you're in the care world, it could be suppliers, government bases, employees, it could be many different people, partners that you do, JVs, the whole lot. But of course, the expectations now are changing. Now, some of you may have come across this before, VUCA, which is an awful acronym, but essentially the traditional VUCA is the vision, the understanding, the clarity, and the ability. So the ones in the middle. But if we start looking at opportunities for change, we are the ones as small business owners to be able to make those changes. So I know that with some of you are wrapped in compliance, and I get that, and governance, and there's certain things you can and can't do. But if we think about volatility and the uncertainty and the complexity and the ambiguity, if we think of the bit in the middle, which is the new version of VUCA. So instead of that volatility, as Matthew was saying about having some kind of stability, how about we become more visionary? How about we have better understanding instead of uncertainty? So again, the things we can control. So when we're looking for business development, trying to get out there to talk to more companies, to win more business over, if we are able to show this and demonstrate it, that we make it easier for them, we've got more chance of winning that business and sustaining it. So instead of that complexity, we think about clarity, so keeping messages more simple, and agility. So awful bingo word, I realise this, but the ambiguity we've had before with businesses and trying to work out plans, and I know that a few of you are in the financial sector, so you'll be aware of this. But if we've got this ability to flex the way that we're doing things, bespoke things, all of a sudden we become much more attractive to our clients. I've just won a piece of work which I was staggered to win because I didn't realise who I was up against until afterwards. And I was a bit like, yes, I've won it. And then thought, oh my God, now the pressure's on, I've got to go and deliver it. But it was just, it's one of those things that I asked for feedback, and I don't know how many of you do this, but I was trying to understand, and this isn't about flattering me, but I was trying to understand why I got through, because if I understand why I got through and I was successful, I should do more of that, because that's what will help me to win the business. So sometimes it's about understanding what strengths you have. And again, this comes back to Matthew saying about the Brilliance in Business Awards and putting yourself out there. So any thoughts at the moment before I move on to the next bit? Let me ask, because I realise I've been talking quite a bit. So any thoughts? Pop it in chat or unmute yourself. Whatever you prefer.
I think it's a good point that you made about going back to your existing clients and asking why they chose you, because we're quite good at going back and asking for a review, but that's completely different. That's a good thing. Yeah,
it's a task, because then it becomes task, and it's staggering, to be honest, Sandra. When you ask that question, the words you assume will come out are not the words that they will use back. I remember doing this before my website got completely revamped, and I sent out all these forms to people, and they came back, and I had to laugh at some of the words they used, because I was thinking it feels as though they've taken it to a basic level, but everything that underpinned that was about people and approach, and it was almost as an presumed knowledge. So we won't worry about that. We'll think about trust and reliability and everything else that sits around it. It's a powerful question. It's a bit scary asking the question, I have to say, because you have to wait for everything to come back, but it's really powerful. Well worth doing, for sure.
Yeah, I'll have a go at that. Thanks.
Excellent, no worries. I look forward to seeing them on LinkedIn, seeing what everyone said.
Oh, I'm not posting it live.
Go on, be brave. Any other thoughts? Darren, you've unmuted.
I was just going to say, Angie, I like the Volker or whatever.
Yeah.
Not careful I say that. For someone like me, certainly, and I don't want to labour the point too much around the an impending budget and all that sort of stuff, and some of the changes that might come about from that. But for someone like me, where I suppose for my existing clients, where I hopefully differentiate myself from others, and my opportunity, I suppose, to provide them with something extra is to hold their hands a little bit when some of those changes happen, and subject to their individual sort of circumstances, what spooks them about it, and making sure that we adapt their plans, and their is this no longer the right thing to do, is doing that over there a better thing to do, and all of those types of things. And I suppose that's where people like me, and probably Jan as well, certainly earn their stripes, certainly in terms of keeping existing customers well serviced, and of course any existing customers easier, and it's better than having to keep finding a new one all the time. So
well, exactly. I think something like a factor of 10, something like that if you're trying to find new customers, it might even be higher than that now. And you think about it, the effort for people to then get to know you, and we know that once people, and this happens all the time, we see this in the business partnership, that as you're developing, the skills and the business that gets and the trust that's built is powerful. I don't know we can ever undervalue exactly the reassurance that every single business, all of you on screen, how much you bring to customers. And often, I say, it's the softer side, it's the human touch. AI is fantastic, and I fully embraced it, but Sandra and I were both at a session, weren't we, in Ringwood, where a guy who was talking about AI tools, and the room, you could feel the tenseness in the room. It was staggering. There's probably 50 people in that room, and everyone's sitting there frowning, thinking, no, it never happened to me. And you think you need to just embrace it and work with it, because AI can have a powerful use for that. And it's now, I sat on a webinar last week about customer experience, and they're now looking at AI across all businesses. And Caroline will be aware of this, but the AI tools that sit there, it's quite staggering. So we can't really fight it. We need to just go with it. So any other thoughts before I move on to the last couple of slides?
I've got one, Angie, if I may. I don't know if this is the right sort of point, but one of the things that we could sort of come across quite a lot is people are very overwhelmed. you know, people are overwhelmed thinking about AI. They're overwhelmed thinking about the budgets coming. You know, there's lots of things. So we're always aiming to whelm people. We don't want to underwhelm and we don't want to overwhelm. So if somebody has come away from us and they're whelmed, we're really happy with that, because actually, you know, that if people are too far one or the other, then actually that's a really uncomfortable place for most people to be. So it's trying to and actually when a customer gave us feedback, a client gave us feedback, and he said that was the word he used, was, yeah, I'm really whelmed. I was really happy with that, because you know, everything that goes on in the world, it's really hard, isn't it, for people to just sort of take a lot in. So what we just try and do is try and give a bit of clarity, I suppose, and keep it simple. But yeah, Operation Whelm is kind of our kind of buzzword in it. I don't think we always get it right, but that's certainly the point we're aiming for, really.
You need to
If I could
IP office down and IP that straight away. Sorry, Caroline.
I pinched it.
Yeah, if I can add to that, yeah. I think people are very intimidated by AI because they don't know what it is and they don't know what it can do. And it is a very broad term that can mean a lot of different things. But what I've been doing with people who are within my sphere of influence is just sitting down and showing them how to use different tools. So the ones that need to be able to produce art, I'll teach them how to use like Midjourney, DALL-E, or Leonardo. The ones who are interested in music, I'll show them the music tools. The ones in animation, the animation tools. And for most people, just showing them how to use ChatGPT, which is really very easy once you get in there. But a lot of people just need somebody to sit down and show them how to get in there and give them a feeling for what ChatGPT can do for them. And then, you know, once they get a feel for it, they're away. And I say to people, look, trying to fight AI is like having an argument with the oncoming tide. You're not going to win.
It's absolutely
and
true.
the government,
it's important. We've got to learn how to embrace it and build it into our business. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the government's trying to put limitations on it and legislate for it. Well, that's like trying to build a wall on the beach. It's not going to work. Yeah, they're going to have to realize they're in a different world now, and we need to work a bit differently with things. And you know, there are big questions to be answered at the highest levels to do with AI safety, but
exactly, compliance and governance and everything. But it will happen. But and I think the more we become an early adopter, and it's interesting with technology, because I still, at a basic level, still are trying to get people to have a more professional LinkedIn profile. So we're starting from really basic. You know, even this morning, people saying to me, I don't want to go onto LinkedIn because it's a scary place. And again, this is about that agility to respond to the world we're in and being proud to be out there, because it isn't Facebook. It's not all these other things.
I mean, it's AI, well, ChatGPT type AI is a glorified search engine in that it has access to all the information that is on the internet if it's been trained on it. And the difference between it and a search engine is you go to a search engine, you say, well, tell me how to do something that's really illegal, and you specify what that is. I'm not going to say that now. And the chances are you won't find the resources you want. But the AI may have been trained on the resources that you want, so that it can tell you how to do some really dangerous things. And the governments are going to try and clamp down on that. But what people don't realise is you can have your own AI. You know, I can run AI on my own machines at home.
Exactly.
I can
you can keep it private. And I think actually, Matthew, that's probably a hot topic for one of your talks about AI.
Yeah,
is getting people to stop feeling so scared about using it, because it is something that we can help us.
I was talking to somebody today who's she specializes in teaching people about like awareness, health, spiritual development, and all that sort of thing. And she has written a massive amount of stuff, and she doesn't want to stick all her content into a place where anybody else can monetize it, frankly. And I said, well, let's build you your own AI. So you're in control of your content, and we can serve it up in different ways to consumers. And that's, I think that's probably where I'm going to be taking my AI business is private AIs.
Yeah, private AIs.
Which plug into business database systems and private content, and that sort of thing would be very hard to legislate for. Not impossible, but
Very
hard.
true. Very true. But yeah, it's a whole hot topic there. We could run down a rabbit warren with that, couldn't we? So thank you for
Yes,
that, Caroline.
but in general, embrace, because there's some amazing tools out there that will really help your productivity. And once you give it a go, just sign on to ChatGPT, and you'll just be amazed what it can do for you.
That's very true. Very true.
Yeah.
Actually, do you know, it was an interesting point. Somebody said to me, I'll just quickly say this, but apparently Tony Robbins is doing an entire the part of his membership. He's now doing his own AI. However, I said to the person who told me about this, what happens if he decided to leave his membership? And there was this silence. Well, you can still access it. And I went, you sure about that? I said, so all your intel goes into Tony Robbins' global mastermind. Really?
Yeah.
So yes, I'll just leave that there because I don't want to say something that's defamatory, but it was interesting thought process. So anyway, we'll say we could run down a rabbit warren on this. So let's pull it back. And I found this beautiful picture of the forest because I thought that was very apt for where we are. So thinking about planning ahead for autumn and beyond, some of the things that I was thinking about that I just want to plant that seed really for what you need to perhaps be thinking about next, if you're not already, is the changes in consumer behaviours because of the budget and everything else that's going on as the summer comes to a natural end. Are there going to be supply chain disruptions with all the crazy stuff that's going on around in the world at the moment? But have we got other marketing opportunities? Is there some other thing that we can do that we're missing because we're so close to it? So, pardon the pun, but seeing the wood for the trees, is if we've got something that we can do that's a bit different, is there something we can help with? Like Caroline was saying about some opportunities around what we're doing there. Is there things around your own personal workforce? Is there stuff that you could be doing and working on? So this might be economic trends, that external factors that are kicking in, AI that we've just been talking about, any regulatory changes around pensions or whatever that might look like, but also internal factors. Do we need other people to help us? As Sandra was saying, loads of ideas, loads of stuff she wants to do. I'm in that same space, trying to work out now what the next phase will look like. And it might not just be me. It might be that I need other people to help support that. So it could be upskilling, resourcing, recruitment as well. There we go. We've got, did have Ricky. I think he's up to disappear. But Ricky, what do we need to help us with that growth? So capacity planning and supply chain. So it's a real whistle stop, and I realise this, but I want you to just think about one key element that you're going to do in this next quarter, and when are you going to do it by? So you don't have to shout on chat if you don't want to, but I want you to just write one thing down that you are intending to do and when you're going to do it. When will it be? So that it turns this reflection into an action. It could be something very simple. It could be something innovative. It might be new ideas, new approaches, new systemization, tapping into AI. It could be anything really. But I just want you to think about that and just scribble it down and capture it. Because part of this, if we think about where we sit on this, we have to hold ourselves accountable. And that's the thing about having your own business. Your own business, you will all have core values, I know. And those objectives that are linked through every level, every department, every part of that. So making sure that we've got time to do this. So when I'm saying about everybody being on board, for you, everybody could be your whole team, might be your accountant, someone who looks after your IT, someone who does another part of your business and helps you, could be associates, but it's all around making time to do that. So if any of you have got any other questions, please, because I'm conscious of time, please pop it in chat or on mute and ask me. And please connect with me if you haven't already. I know I'm connected with quite a few of you, but just let me know. And I'd love to hear more. Matthew's going to send round. I've done a one-pager, nothing too complex, with just the kind of things that I do through my business that might just be able to help you. So whether that's strategic support, facilitation, teams, coaching, whatever, or you might know somebody who needs some of that. So just want to say thank you.
Thanks very much, Angie. Do you want to just stop sharing so we can see everyone? That's great. Thank you. And we've got about 10 minutes if anyone does want to pick up on anything that's been said or hasn't been said.
Good point.
I love the picture of the road back at slide 7 or wherever it was, because what's interesting from a psychology point of view, and possibly psychiatry, but let's not go there, is that when you say, where do you want to go, and show that picture, nearly no one says the road, further up the road. It's always, for me, it was the lake that was just below the clouds.
Yeah.
Some people, it's the mountain. Other people are going off there. So actually, and maybe the analogy is, if you set out one of those dreaded business plans, or a strategy 5 years ahead of you, you're not going to go straight down that road. You're going to head off to somewhere far preferable that'll do you far more good than just walking along that rather boring road.
It's interesting that since 2020, when the world span and changed, there was a lot of people used to write those 5, 10, 20-year business plans. And I think I did hear one of the huge global computer companies that used to seal up their 20-year plan in an envelope and put it away in a safe and then go and look at it in 20 years' time, which is quite fascinating because they're probably working ahead. But after everything happened in 2020, most of the businesses I talked to, huge ones too, will make decisions. Their 10-year is probably now 5 years, and smaller businesses are looking at 12, 18, 36 months, but nothing almost beyond that yet, because they've probably got an end goal and plan, but they don't want to plan so specifically because the world changes. It'd be interesting to hear what Elaine and Jan think of that, because obviously in the world you work in with planning and so on, if that concurs with what you're hearing, because I've certainly seen a change, I have to say.
Yeah, it's difficult for people to plan too far ahead, for sure. Even down to office space, they may or may not need, because what if everyone goes remote again? Obviously a lot of people started ditching offices and went out remote working. People are trying to pull people back in because it's not so good. So I think down to how we can work with other countries because of the impacts of Brexit. There's been lots and lots and lots of change, and that volatility has made it difficult for people to plan. But I think the people who, you've got to have something you're aiming for. Like Matthew said, if you're aiming for the mountain, maybe you don't get all the way up the top of the mountain, but at least if you got to the foot of it, you made some progress, isn't it? So it's being able to actually see that you've traveled in some way and you're getting to it. But I think if people don't have any plan, then I think that's harder, and that's when actually it's probably more overwhelming, again, to use that word, for them, because they can't see that they're making progress in some sort of way. So I think it's always helpful to have that thing you're aiming for. You're probably going to get diverted off. Yes, we don't know what's going to happen with the budget happens, but you might as well just be at least sort of heading to the way you want to go. But yeah, it's hard for businesses.
I think I prefer to call them business maps, really, roadmaps, because I think the minute you mention business plans, we have this horrendous thing in our head of 45 pages of something a bank needs, and that's fine if you're going for bigger investment acquisitions, mergers, whatever, and it's there. But for a small business owner, that can, you're absolutely right, can completely overwhelm. Go on, Rob, you were waving your hands.
It was a point I was waiting to make before my mobile rang just now. Sorry about that, but I'm wrangling with an insurance company at present. I think it's really important that we sit here right now with a plan. We don't just sit here without any idea whatsoever. We must have a plan of where we're going. But equally, we're small business owners. We are responsive to changing situations. We spot opportunities, sometimes even create opportunities. Lots of those happened in 2020. We have to be both planned and yet still flexible to make the most of opportunities.
Absolutely. Come to you, Elaine. Sorry, Matthew.
I think the biggest thing I probably picked up and thought about from what you were talking there is fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of facing reality. There's in my world, once people know the facts, and they separate the business decision from the emotional decision, then what they're going to do moving forward becomes clearer. And it's getting those facts across and getting people to actually discuss things with Jan or myself, and then we can help them with how they can move forward and what their future looks like. But yeah, fear is a massive thing, I think, and having your head in the sand and not facing reality, whatever that reality is. But once you know how difficult a decision is or difficult the situation is, I think we can all move forward. So let's get the 30th of October out the way, guys, and then we'll know what we're dealing with, I guess.
Do you know, interesting, Elaine, I don't know if I've told you this, but I'll share this. During 2020, when it was just absolutely chaotic, and being a limited company, clearly I couldn't claim anything. So I was just like absolutely adrift. And it was really bizarre because I went on a furlough, wanted to carry on doing what I was doing. And one day I just had enough and I closed my laptop down. And those of you who know me very well will know I'm not normally like that. I thought, oh, sod this, I can't do this anymore. So I just closed my laptop and thought, I'm going to go for a walk. It actually was more of a stomp up the road. And I had a staff meeting with myself. And I was talking to myself under my breath. And what I was doing was actually having a board meeting with myself. But it was really funny because I came away after an hour's sort of walk around feeling calmer, because I suddenly thought, I've got managing director after my name. Because I've got a limited company, it's not so much about the status, it is what it says. And I thought, I'm not behaving like an MD, exactly what you just said, Elaine. I'm actually behaving as if I'm an employee. So what I need to do is, I had this hashtag in my head of be more MD. And every time there was an overwhelm of a decision I had to make during that time in 2020, what would an MD do? And I was thinking about the global companies I've worked for. And this wasn't about, say, sort of inflating my ego. It was nothing to do with that. It was just helped me to make proper decisions because it stepped me away. So although it's still me, it was so much better for me to make those decisions. And I think that's something I've often shared with people, is to do exactly that, because then you make a good decision, a proper decision, and it's commercial rather than, oh my God, it's overwhelming. So it removes that fear to a degree. It's still there, but it's less, it's dialed back because you're moving forward. So
I think everybody also could do with a business buddy, so that when you build something up into something that's bigger than what it needs to be, you've got that someone that will give you a reality check and say, look, let's just look at the facts, calm down, and there is a way forward here. You've just taken it to another level when you don't need to. Anyway,
absolutely, yeah, it's very true. Very good point. Eva, sorry, yes, you're waving your hand there. Thank you, Elaine.
Yeah, hi Angie. Yes, definitely is for me is about looking for the opportunities in travel business. Obviously, with travel, travel stopped during pandemic, and I had to survive that. So it's always looking how to improve the business, and yes, and just looking for those new opening ventures. And actually, I've got a question. Does anyone have contact with any of the New Forest vineyards, especially the one maybe in Brockenhurst, after the introduction, to do something, new travel venture to do with wine tasting, pairing with.
Are you talking about Setley Ridge Vineyard?
That's the one, I think. Yes, on the way. Or any other, if anyone's got any contacts, then I would really appreciate that.
I think the other one is called Marlings.
Marlings, that's I couldn't
Marlings, yeah.
But we certainly don't have them connected with us, but somebody must know someone of those. Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you for all your questions. Anyway, I'm conscious of time, but thank you. It was sharing some of your thoughts as well. Hopefully it's prompted some more thinking for you as well.
Absolutely.
Could I make a point?
Yeah, please.
I mean, I'm certainly full of grand plans and big ideas, but life can be hard. And as we've seen in recent years, and there's been a lot that I've had to deal with personally, and sometimes just surviving is a great accomplishment in business.
Okay.
22 years down the line, I'm still in business, and it's not been easy. There have been great times, but there have been really hard times. So I think celebrating survival is reasonable. And having a plan for survival is an important plan as well.
Definitely, Caroline. Keeps you sane, actually, in this crazy world. Whenever you become an entrepreneur, you almost, I say, you have to be a bit crazy, a bit mad, and a bit out there to be able to do it. And you'll all, I'm sure some of you agree with that. But almost it feels like sometimes you're clinging onto your fingertips on the edge of a table. you know, so I think it's quite an amazing thing. And you're absolutely right, surviving. And someone said that to me actually during 2020. One of my dear friends said to me one day, when you get through this, and they did use the word when you get through this, just think how many companies will want to work with you because you've survived it. And you know what? How many times people have said that to me? We'll work with you because you're a proper business. And it's just made me chuckle, because I thought, right, okay, if I can get through that, you know, whatever, anything else. But you're absolutely right, Caroline. It's something to be applauded. So thank you. Thank you for that feedback. And thank you, Emma, for your lovely words. I've just seen that. So you're welcome.
Good.
Thank you, Matthew.
That's all. You've got 15 seconds left just to say thanks to everyone. Thanks to Angie. Also, think about joining us again if you can. Next week, we've got LinkedIn Local at New Park Manor, which has been refurbished, the lovely hotel in the middle of New Park, funnily enough, just outside Brockenhurst. And if you're able to join us then, there are a few places left, not many, but a few. And we have a number of other things, including Darren reappearing next Wednesday to talk about all things exciting about pensions. So please do join us whenever and wherever you can. Thanks very much.
Thank you. See you soon.
Angie.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you, everybody.